Welcome into this OKPreps video exclusive here on OKPreps.com, also on YouTube.com/OKPreps. I'm Michael Knight, the director of OKPreps.com, and we're going to give you 5 players to watch in Class 5A as we open up the 2019 playoffs. And before we do, as always, be sure to hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. Not only will you get all of our player to watch features as we count down the days and the seconds and the minutes to kickoff of the 2019 playoffs, but you'll also get all of our highlight features throughout the 2019 playoffs, and it all starts on Friday. So be sure to hit subscribe to get all of our video content, and also be sure to check out OKPreps.com for more preview coverage of the 2019 playoffs. We're going to have these player to watch features in every single class leading up to kickoff of the 2019 playoffs. But this is our Class 5A players to watch. We're going to give you 5 players to watch in the Class 5A playoffs. Carl Albert trying to go for another state championship and continue that dynasty that they have as a 4-time state champion, 4-time defending state champion, if they can win another one and look to continue their new winning streak after it's been a bit of a surprise season in Class 5A. We've seen some teams really step up, and we kind of start with a team that has been a pleasant surprise. How about a Tahlequah team that won their first district championship in nearly 3 decades? And we go to the running back position for Tahlequah with senior running back DaeDae Leathers. He was one of the top returning players for Tahlequah and one of the top returning players in Class 5A coming into the 2019 season. But he's definitely backed up the hype. You know, this was a Tahlequah team that was knocking on the door last year. They fell short. They were in that district with Collinsville. That was one of the best teams in the state. And now they returned so many talented players, including Leathers. And, you know, they probably came into 2019 expecting to be the favorite to win that district, a tough district that features some of the best teams in 5A. I mean, Tahlequah, Collinsville, Claremore, Pryor, Skiatook, all 5 of those teams were ranked in the 5A top 10 at some point throughout the season. So you had 4 playoff spots and 5 really good football teams, and Tahlequah was the best of the bunch, winning the district championship. Leathers, a big reason why, running for over 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns on the season, back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons for Leathers and the Tahlequah Tigers. And Tahlequah looking to make a deep run into the playoffs. That offense is special. That offense can put up points. And maybe this is, you know, a redemption year for Tahlequah. They're probably still hungry. They probably still think that they're kind of being undervalued. And I can understand why, coming into the playoffs with as much momentum as they have. I can understand feeling salty and playing with that chip on their shoulder. DaeDae Leathers playing with that chip on his shoulder. And it's going to be interesting to see just how good Tahlequah and Leathers can be facing some of the best in Class 5A. I will say this, the district that they played in week and week out was one of the toughest districts in the state regardless of class. So they definitely got prepared for what to expect come playoff time in that tough district where they were playing some of the best teams in Class 5A. We stay at the running back position for our next player to watch, and we go over to Oklahoma City with Bishop McGuinness senior running back Dominic Richardson. A TCU commit at the running back position, arguably the best running back in the state of Oklahoma. Another player on this list is going to have something to say about that. Richardson, he hasn't put up the eye-popping numbers that we've seen from him, especially his sophomore year, that breakout season that he had back in 2017. He's had more workman-like numbers this year. He's put up over 1,000 yards once again, 10 touchdowns on the ground for the Irish. He has over 5,000 yards from scrimmage in the last 3 years alone. And this is a guy that they've been saving him. You can tell that Bishop McGuinness, they haven't had to push him. They haven't had to give him so many carries that he's tired. This is a guy who has fresh legs, who's ready to go for the playoffs. And this is a guy who, after the way the last 2 seasons for him specifically have ended, last year, heartbreaker to rival Bishop Kelly in the quarterfinals. Bishop McGuinness was upset by their rival Kelly in the quarterfinals. That's the way their season ended last year. 2 years ago, his season ended in the regular season finale in Week 10 with a season-ending leg injury. He was unable to play in the playoffs, and I make the argument that had he been healthy, maybe the state championship would have gone a little bit differently if he was at 100% playing some of his best football. It might have been a different story. I'm just saying. Carl Albert definitely has something to say about that, but a healthy Richardson definitely would have provided a difference for McGuinness there. So he is, without a doubt, hungry to finish this year, and he's healthy. He looks good. He looks fantastic. He looks like he isn't worn down, and that's a bad sign for the rest of Class 5A. Staying on the west side, going to our next player, we go to the quarterback position. A guy who was a breakout star last year has continued his phenomenal play this year as a junior. Reno quarterback Dorian Plumlee. Fantastic breakout season last year for Reno, as they just were happy to make it back into the playoffs for the first time in a while. Now they came into 2019 with expectations to not only make it back to the playoffs, but win a couple of games, contend for a semifinal berth, contend for a championship berth. And they've had a good season. They've been one of the better teams in the state. They lost a shootout to Noble back earlier in the season. That gave away their district championship hopes, but they've still been one of the best teams in the state. They were upset in Week 10 by Lawton MacArthur, but that was a situation where their playoff seeding was already locked. How excited are you to play that game? It doesn't even matter. It's on the road. It's a Thursday night. We got playoffs right around the corner. So upsets like that tend to happen in Week 10. But the play of Dorian Plumlee has been outstanding this year. He has over 1,000 yards through the air. He has over 1,000 yards on the ground. He has 15 touchdowns, both passing and 15 touchdowns running. A complete dual threat athlete. And I wanted to see him take that next step. He was a fantastic player last year as a sophomore, a breakout star. I wanted to see him take that next step and become one of the better threats and athletes in the state of Oklahoma, and he's absolutely done that. And that's a big reason why Reno, regardless of the upset loss to Lawton MacArthur in Week 10, that's a dangerous football team that with a player like Dorian Plumlee can beat you in a variety of ways. I'm interested to see just how far he and Reno can go this month in November in the playoffs and potentially make a run at the semifinals at the state championship game. We mentioned defending champion Carl Albert going after their fourth consecutive state championship. A big reason behind that, and look, they have playmakers all over the field. There was a long list of guys that we could have named as a player to watch, but you have to pick the two-way star for the Titans, offensively, defensively. Javion Hunt, the junior running back and defensive back, one of the best players and one of the best recruits as well in Oklahoma's 2021 class. And it's pretty easy to see on offense, on defense, this kid makes plays without a doubt. He has over 20 rushing touchdowns on the season. He doesn't have that many carries. When you compare his touchdowns to carries, it's a pretty small fraction. I mean, he's scoring just about every other time he touches the football. He's a threat to go to the house every single time. He's a threat on defense. He can take away a side of the field. And so Carl Albert defensively has been one of the best teams in the state of Oklahoma, regardless of class. And a big reason has been because of Javion Hunt on one side of the defensive backfield. And you mentioned Rico Wyndham on the other side. You also have other stars on the defense like Reese Collier, Alphonse Joseph up front, manning that defensive line. So Carl Albert definitely looks strong. I know they were upset earlier in the year. They had their winning streak snapped, but I said it at the time, and I'll say it again. You can make the argument that Carl Albert losing, having their winning streak snapped, broken, hearted, losing to Piedmont might have been the worst thing for the rest of Class 5A, because that could make Carl Albert more of a threat, more angry, and more determined to win this state championship. And I believe that. I believe that they're one of those programs where they learn so much from a loss. They learn more from a loss than they do from a win, and there's been plenty of wins in the last 5 years, and I think that that upset definitely sparked them to the way they finished the 2019 regular season, and they're definitely going into the playoffs as the favorite to win it all. And Javion Hunt is a big game-changing player that could help lead the Titans to yet another state championship. Staying at the running back position, but going to arguably the best player in the state of Oklahoma last year. He was our OKPreps Player of the Year. And I mentioned someone else having something to say about Dominic Richardson from McGuinness being the best running back in the state. Let me introduce you, if you haven't done so already, to Edison running back Savion Morrison. Right there in the discussion with Richardson to find out who the best running back in the state of Oklahoma is, and ooh-wee, if we get to see them go head-to-head, count me there. I have to see that in person if they end up facing off in the playoffs. Count me there as a guy who will be watching to see who gets the best of who, and that'd be a great game, by the way, McGuinness and Edison. Edison has had a phenomenal season. Savion Morrison put up video game numbers last year as a junior, and kind of similar to Richardson, he hasn't been asked to do that this year for Edison. He has over 1,500 yards. He has over 20 touchdowns once again. He's one of the best running backs statistically yet again in Oklahoma, but he hasn't put up the monster numbers that he did last year, running for close to 3,000 yards, close to 40 touchdowns. He hasn't had to do that because their offense has been more balanced. They have more playmakers, and their defense has been outstanding. So Savion Morrison, while he doesn't have the numbers that he had last year, he's just as talented, he's just as dangerous, and he's getting better and better. And you see the highlights, you see some of the plays that he's able to make. And alongside him, his teammates have gotten so much better. That offensive line is getting so much better every single week. He has playmakers around him on the offensive side of the ball. And on defense, they've been able to tear opponents up. They've been one of the criminally underrated defenses in the state. And look, we've been talking about their defense since September when we saw them do what they did against Claremore, and then a couple weeks later against Bishop Kelly. Defensively, Edison, one of the most improved units in the state of Oklahoma, and that's a big reason why Morrison doesn't have the numbers that he had last year, but he is still one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the state of Oklahoma, one of the best, if not the best, playmakers in the state of Oklahoma, and he's without a doubt worth the price of admission. By the way, that price of admission to see Morrison in person is about to go up. He has at most 4 more games where you can see him for less than $10 because he's going to be playing his next 4 years at the University of Nebraska as a commit to the Cornhuskers at the running back position. But Savion Morrison, without a doubt, worth the price of admission over the next month or so. He's sure and similar to Richardson, he's fresh, he's ready to go, and ready to put on a show come playoff time here in Oklahoma. That's it. That's 5 players to watch here as we get ready to open up the 2019 playoffs in Class 5A. I appreciate you tuning in. I remind you once again, if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe to the subscribe button on youtube.com/OKPreps for all of our player to watch features, as well as all of our highlights throughout the 2019 playoffs. One final time, I'm Michael Knight, and this has been 5 Players to Watch in Class 5A.